never challenge nature. It always finds a way to remind us of its power. Niagara Falls, one of the most beautiful and awe-inspiring natural wonders in the world, but behind its breathtaking beauty lies a dark, chilling truth. Over the years, countless lives have been lost to its merciless force in ways that are hard to imagine. Trust me, you won't believe some of the shocking stories that will leave you speechless. Stay tuned, because what you're about to hear might just make you rethink ever getting too close to nature's fury. The last fall of a daredevil, this wasn't just a stunt, it was a tribute. In 1951, Niagara Falls was more than just a tourist spot. It was where stories of bravery were written in water and mist. William Redhill Jr., a 38-year-old Canadian daredevil, stood at the edge of the roaring river, ready to risk his life. But this wasn't just for fame. It was his way of honoring his late father, Redhill Sr., a local hero known for saving lives during the deadly ice bridge collapse in 1912 and the Niagara Scow Rescue in 1918. After his father passed away in 1942, William Jr. felt he had to do something unforgettable to carry on the family's legacy, but this time, he chose something even his father never dared to try. William Jr. planned to go over the massive Horseshoe Falls in a barrel, not a regular one, but something he built himself. He called it The Thing, a strange mix of 13 heavy-duty inner tubes, canvas webbing, and fishnet. He hoped this risky design would keep him safe. His goal? To raise money for a memorial to honor his father. It was a stunt no one had attempted like this before, and it drew a crowd of thousands on August 5, 1951. The river was roaring, the crowd was silent. At 1:30 in the afternoon, William Jr. climbed into The Thing and launched himself from Usher's Creek, 3.2 kilometers upstream. The current quickly pulled him toward the falls, and for a moment, it looked like he might survive the 167-foot drop. But when the thing hit the water below, it shattered on impact, the crowd gasped, then silence. William's body didn't surface. His family watched in horror from the shore, hoping for a miracle that never came. The next morning brought heartbreak and change. William Redhill Jr.'s broken body was found near the Maid of the Mist landing, a deep wound on his forehead. The tragedy shocked everyone and sparked outrage. What was meant to be a tribute ended in disaster. After this, Niagara Falls put a strict ban on all daredevil stunts, a rule that still exists today. William's final act wasn't just a fall over the falls, it was the fall that changed the rules forever. One step too close, a fun trip turned tragic. She just wanted a fun day with friends. Ayano Tokumazu, a 20-year-old girl from Toyohashi, Japan, came to Toronto in 2011 to learn English. She was full of life, kind to everyone, and quickly became friends with many people at the Hansa Language Center. On August 14th, she and her friends went on a trip to Niagara Falls, excited to see the beautiful waterfall on the Canadian side. It was supposed to be a happy day full of pictures and memories. You just wanted a perfect photo. Like many tourists, Ayano stopped near the famous Horseshoe Falls to take a picture. But instead of staying behind the safety railing, she climbed over it. Holding an umbrella, she stood dangerously close to the edge, looking down at the powerful water below. When she tried to climb back, everything went horribly wrong. She lost her balance and fell into the fast-moving water. In just seconds, she was gone. People tried everything to find her. Right after Ayano fell, search teams from both Canada and the US worked together to look for her. Her friends and family were heartbroken, but still hopeful. 4 days later, on August 18th, a worker at the Cave of the Winds attraction on the US side found her body. The sad news broke everyone who knew her. What started as a fun trip had now turned into something they would never forget. One photo now tells the whole story. A picture shared online showed Ayano sitting on the railing just moments before she fell. In the background, a couple is smiling, not knowing a tragedy is about to happen. Ayano's story is a sad reminder that one small choice can change everything forever. All she wanted was a perfect moment, but it cost her life. The stuntman who died for a message. He wasn't chasing fame, he was chasing change. In 1995, a 39-year-old stuntman named Robert Overacker came to Niagara Falls not for thrills, but to speak for the homeless. He had one bold plan: ride a jet ski off the edge of Horseshoe Falls with a rocket-powered parachute strapped to his back. The jet ski even had a clear message painted on it: "Save the homeless." This was no random stunt. Robert had spent 7 long years preparing for this exact moment, with full support from his family and close friends. Crowds gathered as Robert entered the cold river. Wearing a wetsuit and carrying his special parachute pack, he started his ride near the Canadian side of the Niagara power plant. He looked calm, even as the thundering falls grew closer. The spectators were silent, watching him skillfully ride the jet ski straight toward the edge. Right before the drop, he triggered the rocket meant to open his parachute, but in a split second, everything went terribly wrong. Disaster struck when the parachute failed. Instead of slowing him down, the parachute detached completely from Robert's body. With no way to stop, he fell 51 meters straight into the roaring waters below. A rescue boat called the Maid of the Mist rushed to the scene. They managed to pull his body from the water, but it was too late. At the hospital, Robert was declared dead from the injuries he got during the fall. Shock filled the crowd, and questions started pouring in. The world watched and wondered, why did it fail? It later came out that Robert hadn't packed the parachute himself, and that might have been a deadly mistake. His death became the 15th fatal stunt attempt at Niagara Falls since 1901. Authorities quickly enforced stricter rules to stop such dangerous acts, but even now, thrill seekers still feel the pull of Niagara's wild water. Robert's message may have been drowned by tragedy, but his bold stand for the homeless will never be forgotten. The baby lost at Niagara Falls. It was supposed to be a beautiful day for the Saya family. In 1981, they traveled from Toronto to Niagara Falls for a relaxing family trip. Dunya Saya, her husband, Rafiq, and their 3 kids were excited to enjoy the famous waterfalls. Dunya, who had moved from Lebanon, loved her baby boy Hisham more than anything. He was just 2 months old, and she always kept him close. With smiles and laughter in the air, no one could have guessed that the joy of that day would soon turn into heartbreak. As Rafiq walked away to buy camera film, Dunya stood by the stone railing, holding baby Hisham in her arms. The view was breathtaking, but then something went horribly wrong. In a split second, Dunya lost her balance and fell backward. The strong current of the Niagara River pulled her and Hisham into the water. People nearby heard her scream for help, but her voice was lost in the noise. Though some rushed to help, it was already too late. Hisham was swept from her arms, and Dunya could not fight the powerful water. Rescue teams arrived quickly, and the search for baby Hisham began, but the river was too wild and dangerous. Days went by, and still no sign of him was found. The family was devastated. At first, everyone believed it was a terrible accident, but then the story took a dark turn. Police arrested Dunya and accused her of throwing her baby into the river on purpose. People were shocked. The media covered the story everywhere, and the public was divided. Was she a grieving mother or something else? During the trial, Dunya's lawyers said she was not a killer, but a tired, loving mother under deep stress. They explained how Hisham's poor health had left her exhausted and anxious. They said she had simply lost her balance. The court found no proof that she meant to harm her child, and the judge dropped the charges, but even though she was free, Dunya's life was never the same. She had lost her baby and faced harsh judgment from the world. Hisham's body was never found, and the family's pain never went away. This tragedy still haunts the memory of Niagara Falls. The man who challenged Niagara Falls back in 1930, a 46-year-old Greek chef named George Stathakis, had a dream. He wanted to become famous by going over the mighty Niagara Falls in a barrel. Living in Buffalo, New York, George had seen others like Annie Edson Taylor survive the same crazy stunt, and he believed he could do it too. So he built a massive 2,000-pound oak barrel, reinforced it with steel, and even added an oxygen system to help him breathe during the fall. But the most unusual part? He took his pet turtle, Sonny Boy, along for the ride. Local daredevil William Redhill Sr., who knew the danger well, tried to talk George out of using such a heavy barrel. He warned that its size might make it hard to control, especially in the violent waters of the falls. But George didn't listen. He was confident, maybe too confident. He believed his heavy barrel would protect him better than anything else. So on the big day, George climbed into his barrel with Sonny Boy beside him and began his deadly journey. As the barrel went over the edge, disaster struck. Instead of flowing smoothly through the water, the barrel got stuck in a narrow crevice beneath the falls. It stayed trapped for hours. The water was too strong and the rocks too sharp. There was no way out. George's oxygen system kept him alive for 8 hours, but rescue teams couldn't reach him in time. When they finally pulled the barrel out, it was too late. George had suffocated. One survived, but it wasn't George. In a strange twist, while George had died, his pet turtle Sonny Boy had survived without a scratch. The news shocked everyone. George's barrel is still on display near Niagara Falls today, a chilling reminder of how dangerous it is to challenge nature. His story made many people think twice about risking their lives for fame. George's courage was real, but his tragic end proved that some forces, like the power of the falls, just shouldn't be tested. Jesse Sharp, who challenged Niagara Falls. Jesse Sharp was not your average guy. He was a fearless 28-year-old kayaker from Tennessee who had already conquered some of the wildest rivers in North America. But on June 5, 1990, Jesse wanted to do something no one had ever dared: ride over the deadly Niagara Falls in a kayak, without any safety gear. He wasn't doing it for fun. Jesse wanted to prove something big, to show the world he could survive the impossible and make a name for himself as a stunt legend. What made this even more shocking? Jesse didn't use a barrel like others who tried going over the falls. Instead, he chose a sleek 12-foot fiberglass kayak built only for speed. No helmet, no life jacket, nothing to protect him. Around 1:45 p.m., he paddled into the Niagara River, hoping to ride the rapids, shoot off the edge, and land safely far downstream. He was so confident, he even made a dinner reservation in Lewiston, New York for later that evening. As Jesse got closer to the edge, people watching saw him raise his paddle high, maybe as a signal, maybe as a final wave. Then, in an instant, his kayak flipped over the mighty falls and vanished into the roaring water. The power of Niagara was just too much. Minutes passed, then hours. But Jesse never came out. His smashed kayak was later found downstream, but Jesse himself was never seen again. Jesse Sharp's story is both brave and heartbreaking. He was chasing greatness, but nature had other plans. His death was a loud warning to the world. No matter how skilled or brave you are, some forces are just too powerful to beat. Niagara Falls claimed another soul that day, and Jesse's daring stunt became a reminder that testing nature's limits can come at the highest cost. The barber who challenged Niagara Falls. In the summer of 1920, a 58-year-old barber from Bristol, England, named Charles Stevens, decided to do something wild. He wasn't just cutting hair. He dreamed of becoming famous by doing something no one could forget. So, he packed his bags and went to Niagara Falls, one of the most dangerous places on Earth. His plan? To go over the massive waterfall in a barrel. People had tried it before. Some survived, some didn't. But Charles believed he had built a better barrel that would protect him from the deadly fall. Charles didn't just use any ordinary barrel. He built one with a special system called a ballast, meant to keep it balanced as it dropped over the 167-foot-high Horseshoe Falls. Everyone thought it was a smart idea, even a bit ahead of its time. Charles felt confident. He believed his design would help him survive the fall and make him a hero. With hope in his heart and dreams in his eyes, he climbed into the barrel and let the river take him. But just as Charles started his plunge, disaster struck. The ballast system didn't work the way it was supposed to. The barrel started shaking and spinning out of control. When it hit the bottom of the falls, it smashed apart from the force of the water. Rescue teams rushed to find him, but all they recovered was his right arm. The rest of his body was never found. His dream of fame had turned into a nightmare. Charles's story became one of the many tragic tales of people who tried to conquer Niagara Falls and paid with their lives. Back in the early 1900s, daredevils came from all over the world chasing fame, but the falls didn't care about bravery or dreams. It crushed those who underestimated its power. Charles Stevens is now remembered not just as a man who tried something bold, but as a warning of how dangerous chasing glory can be. A fun birthday turns into horror. It was a bright July day in 1960, and 7-year-old Roger Woodward was out on the water with his sister Diane and their family friend Jim Honeycutt. They were just there to celebrate Diane's birthday with a peaceful boat ride. But everything changed in seconds. Their small boat hit a hidden rock near the Grand Island Bridge and the motor stopped. With no rope or anchor, the strong Niagara River started pulling them fast. Jim quickly told Roger to wear the spare life jacket, which Roger already had on. Deanne rushed to put hers on, but before anyone could react, a huge wave slammed the boat and threw them all into the wild river. The current was fierce, and the famous 167-foot drop of the Horseshoe Falls was getting closer. Jim shouted, "Get to the life jackets," trying to stay in control, but the river was too powerful. The boat flipped, and all three were tossed like leaves in a storm. The water was filled with sharp rocks and spinning waves. They had no chance to swim away or stop. As they were pulled closer to the deadly edge, the fear and chaos were beyond anything a person could imagine. Roger, just 7 years old, went over the massive falls, but his life jacket saved him. Somehow, he was still alive in the water below. The crew of the Maid of the Mist 2 tour boat saw him, fighting to stay afloat. It took them 3 tries in the rough water to reach him, but finally, they pulled him aboard, shaken but alive. Meanwhile, Diane had managed to fight the river and reach the shore. A brave person on land jumped into the water and saved her just in time. Both had survived something almost no one does. Sadly, Jim Honeycutt didn't make it. His body was found days later, a painful reminder of how dangerous Niagara Falls can be. But Roger's survival shocked the world. People started calling it the miracle at Niagara. His courage and the fast actions of the boat crew became a story of hope. Over the years, Roger's survival has inspired many people. It reminds us how powerful nature can be and how strong the human will to survive truly is. The man who challenged Niagara Falls twice, Kirk Raymond Jones, was just a regular man from Michigan, born in 1962, but when he turned 40, his life took a strange turn. He had lost his job, felt broken inside, and decided to do something no one could imagine. In October 2003, Kirk jumped into the powerful Niagara Falls without any safety gear. People watched in shock as he floated on his back and dropped from the 176-foot-high Horseshoe Falls. Somehow he survived. Experts said a cone of water may have softened his fall. Kirk made news all over the world, but he also got fined $5,000 and was banned from Canada. After his crazy stunt, Kirk disappeared from the public eye. He lived quietly, but deep inside, something kept pulling him back. That feeling grew stronger over the years, and in April 2017, he returned to Niagara Falls. This time, he brought an inflatable ball and his pet boa constrictor named Misty. His plan, another wild stunt. Witnesses saw him and another man preparing the ball near the falls. It looked like history was about to repeat itself. Hours later, that same inflatable ball was found floating empty at the bottom of the falls. Kirk had vanished. There was no sign of him or Misty the snake. The rescue team searched the area, hoping to find him alive. But on June 2nd, 2017, the truth came out. His body was found 12 miles downstream in Lake Ontario. Misty was never found, leaving behind one more mystery in this already strange story. Kirk Jones's story is a warning. The mighty power of nature is not something to test. Even though he once survived the impossible, the second time cost him his life. The mystery of his return, his missing snake, and why he did it again still puzzles many. What drives someone to risk it all? Would you ever dare go over Niagara Falls? Tell us in the comments, and remember, some challenges aren't meant to be taken.